Hey guys, it's Billy. I am currently sick as a flipping dog, so you may have to bear with a little. But enough about my disgusting health problems. I'm here with a pretty interesting one today, and it's a bit out of the box. As some of you may know, I've been currently going to uni, and we've been studying something that's probably become one of my favorite things in music production at the moment, which is Dolby Atmos. Which, if you want sort of a crash course on what that means, go check out my last blog. With our latest assignment, we have been tasked with making a piece of audio which utilizes surround sound in a sort of creative way. So that could be a piece of music or an audio play. I decided to go with just a piece of music. So as many of you may know, I am a huge horror fan, which has inspired this piece of music. To give you a sort of idea of what the bloody hell I was thinking, I sort of wanted the listener to sort of be in the middle of, I guess, a really fucked up pagan ritual or something like that. So let's jump into it. I am not gonna play the whole track because it's 6 bloody minutes. It goes on forever. That's a Bohemian Rhapsody reference if you're interested. But I have sort of split the track down into some smaller sections. So this video is going to be a two-parter. In this section, I kind of want to talk more about the instrumental choices. And then in the next section, I'm going to be talking more about the actual production. So yeah, let's get to it. So section 1, to put it into the words of our immortal Lord and Savior Superhands from Peep Show, what you want to do is you want to create a wall of dread. I think I did a pretty good job. So I wanted to just create a sort of ambient horror escape. So this is section 1. Let's go. Wasn't that lovely? So admittedly, a lot of these sounds are from the actual Logic sample library, which is surprisingly sophisticated. Sophisticated is probably not the right word, but there's a lot you can do with just getting these sort of simple samples and using them in a creative way. So there's a lot of metal doors creaking, there's a lot of rattlesnake sound effects, but there's one thing that you might have heard through that, which is the flies, which is actually a sample I got from YouTube from a free sample channel, which is simply called Flies on Shit, which is a sample that I have on my computer now, which is great. Yeah, so that's here. Gross, but also quite effective. I mean, I really wanted to go out and get this sample myself, but it would mean two things. First of all, I would have to go and find some flies on shit. And then second of all, I would have to be that guy that's recording a bunch of flies on shit. So I didn't really want to do that. Also, I think it's probably important to say that obviously, like I said, there's a lot going on in all of these sections and I'd love to talk about all of them. But the track currently has over 90 different tracks in it. So I'm not, yeah. We don't, no one wants that. So, okay, so second, and this is a bit of a weird one. This is a file which I have called the worst thing ever. Basically what I did was I got a bunch of different woodwind instruments and brass instruments, and I basically just did like a scatter shot of notes across the piano roll, which sounds really bad, which you're about to find out, so let's hear it. That's enough of that. So that's what hell sounds like. So then I bounced that out, and then I re-imported it as the audio file, and then I just sort of used it as, I guess, like a texture. I used a Space Designer, which sounds just as horrible, but more interesting. So here it is. Lovely stuff. Yeah, so let's go into section 2. I wanted like a sort of very low, ominous drone throughout, basically almost all the whole track. I got loads of different choir parts, all singing very low, almost, I guess it almost sounds like throat singing, which I'm a big fan of. So let's hear that. This is section 1 going into section 2, obviously. So it sounds very dramatic, very ominous, and let's just hear that by itself. So I think one thing to talk about as well is that I really wanted this piece to, I mean, if you hear that by itself, it's quite pretty. And I think a lot of the parts that we're gonna hear now are, but I really wanted the piece to sort of dance on that line between beauty and chaos. It's the whole thing about, I guess, life and death, light and dark, all that good stuff. So let's go into section 3, which is building on the same idea, but I introduce an idea that's very similar to what we heard as the worst thing ever, which is, you know, a scattershot of random notes. However, this time I did it more in key. So very dramatic, very overblown. So we're gonna let's break down a few of the things that's happening here. There's actually 2 bits that I want to talk about. I originally did this idea only using flutes, which I think sounds pretty good, but it just didn't have that sort of the sort of definition that I sort of wanted. So I exported them. I was like, okay, that sounds cool, but let's just use this sound as a texture. So I'll show you that now. You get the idea. So I was like, use that sound as a texture and just try again. So I just changed the instrumentation around basically, and instead of just using flutes, I used a lot of oboes and clarinets and English horns. They ended up sounding really, really cool. It's quite pretty. The other thing that you might have noticed is I introduce a timpani. I wanted to use percussion just to make the track sort of move easier and sort of just grow in intensity. So let's have a quick listen to them. You can do more than you think with just stock instruments and reverb. Oh, and also I introduced some brass, which I feel like the big orchestral brass maybe slightly goes against the whole pagan ritual sort of thing, but sounds pretty cool, so fuck it. So let's go to the next section. For this one I introduce a lot more percussion. I actually used 4 different kits, so let's have a listen. Nice. So we're down to the last 3 sections. Again, I wish that I knew more about music theory than I do, but I'm very happy with how these sort of chords, I guess, interact with each other. Let's have a listen. This goes into the final parts of the track, which gets kind of weird. I was sort of unsure of what to do. I've been listening to a lot of folk music at the moment. They've got a lot of sort of lead violin parts or flute parts and things, and sort of drew inspiration from that. So let's have a listen. So kind of weirdly funky. Let's have a listen to them. And let's just have a listen to the percussion here as well. I threw in the claps on every beat. I just think it sort of helped drive the track forward and add to the sort of, I guess, sense of something's coming, something's gonna happen. That sense of dread to invoke in the listener. Which is what you want to do. Cool, so let's just listen to the final part of the song. I wanted to recall the brass part from earlier, which I was more proud of than I probably should be. But I think it just sort of helped round things off and give it this sort of epic sense of finality. That's probably... God, I'm so ill. I'm sorry, okay? What do you want from me? Okay, let's just listen to it. So yeah, well, that's pretty much it in terms of the instrumentation. I mean, it's not, like I said, there's like 90 tracks. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are the kind of person that would like to see a video detailing the more production side of things, then you're probably very, very strange and we can be friends. So yeah, hopefully see you in the next one, and stay alive.